Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulil kareem. A lot of these journeys that you make with charity organizations, it has a large impact on one's understanding, one's perception of how they see the world. One of them is that you start to develop a sense of gratefulness for what you have. I encourage everyone and anyone who can travel to see. It is part of our Islamic tradition to travel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in the Quran, فَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, travel the world and see. Many of the ulama, Imam Shafi'i has said that, traveling is like water. A person stays, like moving water, you stay fresh, but however the stagnant water will then become stale and old. So to move and travel is part of our Islamic heritage. The famous Ibn Battuta, for example, who traveled so many countries. And we have a vast empire. The beauty is, I come here, I'm saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I go to another part of the Islamic world and we say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Immediately there's a bond whenever you meet your brothers and sisters around the world. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of poverty in the Muslim world, and places, particularly in Africa, where we have these poverty-stricken countries, and within them the internal strife and internal instability that exists. As Muslims, it's our duty, it's part of our zakat. Our zakat is a part of our Islam that sometimes people ignore or they delay unnecessarily. It is something that we must give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Above all, the Quran is full of giving charity. Love for yourself what you love for your brother. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about giving a loan to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the thing that stays. Giving in the way of Allah is actually the only real investment that stays for you after you pass away from this earth. Everything else will be consumed by the inheritors or will be used for your own or your funeral costs. What really stays from your wealth will be the sadaqah that you've given while you are walking on the face of this earth. I encourage all of you all to plan yourselves, to coordinate your projects as a family, as individuals, particularly of those of us who will live a very comfortable life in the world spectrum. We live a very comfortable life in Europe. Give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are our brothers and sisters, and you don't know on the day of judgment that food you provided, that water you provided, that rice you provided, that shelter you provided, that clothing you provided will shade you and be a form of shade, because that will be the charity, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that the charity will come as a shade for you on Yawm al-Qiyamah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept your donations. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us ikhlas in our hearts, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept what we are doing in His way. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
للجنة نسعى